Hello and welcome, folks. My name is Alex, and you are on the Classic Cars Roast channel. Today, we're dissecting a real piece of work, the 1978 Cadillac Seville. Now, if you thought the malaise era had nothing left to offer but a heavy dose of mediocrity, this car is your poster child. It's like Cadillac took everything that made their cars great and decided to toss it into a blender with a side of low expectations. The market situation for this vehicle is as laughable as its performance figures. Sure, it has that classic Cadillac badge, but don't let the shiny chrome bumpers fool you. Beneath that facade lies a world of disappointment. You might see a well-preserved model selling for anywhere between $10,000 to $20,000, which is absurd considering the original horsepower is around 180. That's right, 180 horsepower from a 5.7-liter Oldsmobile V8. Talk about pathetic horsepower. The car's 0 to 60 miles per hour time? Around 11.5 seconds. You could walk faster than that if you really wanted to. What's more shocking is that the auction prices for these things can reach silly heights, especially for those rare finds with ridiculously low mileage. I mean, one of these beauties went for $140,000 with a mere 97 miles on the clock. Just imagine the poor soul who thought they were investing in a classic. The Seville was supposed to be Cadillac's answer to the European luxury sedan, but what you really got was a half-hearted attempt at style coupled with a comically thick door seal to disguise the dreadful build quality. And don't even get me started on the interior. Sure, it has leather seats and a digital clock, but I'd rather have a solid dashboard than a faux wood grain strip that screams cheap. Now, if you're looking for something with a bit of brutal charm, as collectors might say, this car has a certain hooligan streak to it. But let's be real here, it's only original once, and if you find one that's been tampered with, just walk away. For me, a repainted body is an immediate no, game over. So what do you think? Would you drop your hard-earned cash on this luxury wannabe, or are you as skeptical as I am? All right, folks, let's dive into the creation story of the 1978 Cadillac Seville and the context of the era. Buckle up, because this is where things get really interesting, or should I say, painfully predictable. We're smack in the middle of the so-called malaise era, a time when American automakers were desperately trying to keep up with the changing tides, but were mostly just floundering. Just think back to 1970, the last great year for high-compression V8s, where you had real power and performance. Fast forward to 1978, and what do we get? A Cadillac that's more about style than substance, with an engine that's a sad shell of what it once was. The Cadillac Seville was conceived as a response to the rising competition from European luxury brands. The idea was to create a smaller, more refined Cadillac that could hold its own against the likes of BMW and Mercedes-Benz. But here's the kicker. Instead of packing a punch, they slapped an electronic fuel-injected 5.7-liter 350 cubic inch displacement Oldsmobile V8 under the hood. And what do you get from that? A pathetic 180 horsepower. Just embarrassing. I mean, how is that supposed to compete with the European luxury market? As if that wasn't enough, the build quality was pretty dreadful. You had common rust spots popping up on rear quarters, trunk floors, and lower door panels. And don't even get me started on the electrical issues. Power windows that refuse to budge. A sensitive electronic fuel injection system that seems to have a mind of its own. This car was a mechanical nightmare waiting to happen. It's as if they took all the worst engineering decisions from the era, threw them in a blender, and called it a luxury car. And the handling? Oh, please. If you're expecting anything close to the nimble, responsive cars from the mid-60s to early 70s, you're going to be sorely disappointed. The weight distribution and suspension tuning on this beast are laughable. The turbo-hydromatic 400 transmission might be the saving grace, but even that can't compensate for the overall lack of finesse. Now let's not ignore the aesthetic side of things. The Cadillac Seville was adorned with heavily chromed bumpers and a vertical bar grille designed to give it that unmistakable luxury appeal. But it's all just a facade. Sure, it looked the part, but when you peel back the layers, you find a car that's pretty much lost its way. In the end, the Seville was a product of an era that was flailing about in a sea of mediocrity. It stood as a testament to what Cadillac could have been, but ultimately fell short of delivering. So, Do you think this car is a beautiful tribute to luxury or just a sad reminder of what once was? All right, folks, here we go. It's time to rip into the exterior of the 1978 Cadillac Seville. And let me tell you, this is where the confusion really begins. You see, Cadillac was trying to cater to a more international market with this model, which is code for let's make it narrow and hope nobody notices how it's lost its American swagger. What a pathetic attempt at luxury. The body lines are about as exciting as a bowl of oatmeal. Instead of the bold, aggressive stance we expect from a Cadillac, you get this timid silhouette that barely makes a statement. The Seville might as well be hiding in the corner of the lot, hoping nobody will notice it. Now, let's talk colors. Cadillac offered a range of factory color names that sound more like fancy cocktail drinks than car shades. Cotillion White, Academy Gray, Lido Green, Antelope Fire Mist, and Ruidoso Saddle. You know what? These colors aren't just uninspired. They scream, I'm trying too hard to be classy. What happened to the rich, bold hues that would make a car stand out? Instead, we get this washed-out palette that feels more like a funeral than a celebration of automotive design. Let's pivot to the grille, which is mostly consistent with that vertical bar design typical of the late 70s. It's chrome-heavy, pretending to be luxurious, but honestly, it's just gaudy. You can practically hear it shouting, "Look at me!" while simultaneously begging for attention. And those bumpers? Heavily chromed with integrated impact strips, because nothing says, I'm a luxury car, like a bumper that looks like it was borrowed from a tractor. Seriously, it's embarrassing. Now, if you want to talk about quirks, how about the international size design? This is a Cadillac, not a compact car. The narrow width is a slap in the face to anyone who remembers the glory days when Cadillacs were big, bold, and unapologetically American. Instead of the spaciousness that used to define luxury, we get a vehicle that feels more like a compromise than a commitment to quality. In summary, the exterior of the 1978 Cadillac Seville is a mixed bag of mediocrity and missed opportunities. It's a sad reflection of the malaise era, where flashy chrome couldn't cover up the fact that this car was just another lackluster offering from a once great brand. If you think this is a car that deserves a spot in your garage, I have to ask, are you settling for mediocrity? All right, folks, time to dissect this interior like a surgeon with a grudge. The dashboard in the 1978 Cadillac Seville is a rectangular wraparound design that screams, "Look at me." But frankly, it's more of a half-hearted whisper. Sure, there's wood trim accentuated panels, which could have been a nice touch if it didn't look like something you'd find in a cheap diner. I mean, if you're going to flaunt wood, at least make it real, not that faux wood grain nonsense that feels like it's trying too hard. Now, the steering wheel, yeah, it's leather wrapped, and for a moment, it almost makes you feel like royalty. But then you realize it's just a veneer of elegance over a mountain of mediocrity. You can opt for the walnut wood trim, but does that really make a difference? Not when you remember the last great year for high-compression V8s was 1970. The seat comfort? Well, they've thrown in 6-way power-adjustable front seats, which sounds good on paper, but they're about as supportive as a soggy piece of bread. The leather? Sure, it's nice, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that leather can't hide the fact that these seats could use a little more padding and a little less, I'm going to throw my back out. Speaking of options, you've got a center console with storage and wood trim that is as useful as a screen door on a submarine. And who could forget the digital clock? It's like they thought, let's throw in some tech to distract from the fact that our engineering is suffering from a serious identity crisis. Automatic climate control is a nice feature, but let's be honest, it doesn't do much when you're dealing with notorious electrical issues. And let's not even get started on the power windows that seem to have a mind of their own. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. It's like playing Russian roulette with your sanity. Now, about that smell, there's a distinct aroma that wafts through the cabin. It's a blend of aging leather, questionable plastic, and a hint of what once was luxury. If you're hoping for that classic car musk, prepare to be disappointed. Instead, you're left with a gentle reminder that this is a product of the malaise era where charm went to die. So what's the verdict? It's clear that the interior of the 1978 Cadillac Seville is all show and no go. It's got some nifty features, but they're buried under layers of mediocrity that make you wish for the good old days. Would I buy one just for this interior? Absolutely not. But if you find one in decent shape for a decent price, maybe it's worth a look. Just don't expect it to change your life. All right, gearheads, let's rip the Band-Aid off and dive headfirst into the engine of the 1978 Cadillac Seville. Now, this is where the pain really starts, folks. What we have lurking under the hood is an electronic fuel injection 5.7 liter, that's 350 cubic inches for you old-school fans, Oldsmobile V8, coded LT7. Sounds fancy, right? But hold your horses. It's a classic case of style over substance. With a horsepower rating of approximately 180, this engine is as weak as a kitten. When you consider that the last great year for American V8s was 1970, it's hard not to cringe at the drop in performance. We're talking about a compression ratio that's 7.6 to 1. Let's be real, that's pathetic horsepower for a luxury vehicle that's supposed to ooze power and prestige. The torque figures aren't saving this car either, with a measly 275 pound-feet. Picture this. You're in a car that's supposed to scream luxury, but instead, it feels like you're driving a glorified grocery getter. The original magazine reported a 0 to 60 miles per hour time of approximately 11.5 seconds. 11.5 seconds. That's a snail's pace in the automotive world, and it gets worse with quarter-mile times around 18 seconds at just 76 miles per hour. I mean, come on. This is the Cadillac Seville we're talking about, not a family minivan. Now, let's take a moment to address the turbo hydromatic 400 transmission, because let's face it, the transmission is a sacred cow in the automotive world. This 3-speed automatic is legendary for its durability and smooth shifting. It's the best automatic transmission ever built. Period. You could drop this thing into a tank and it would still shift like butter. But here's the kicker. It's paired with an engine that just doesn't hold up its end of the deal. So what's the takeaway here? This engine is a sad reminder of the malaise era that choked the life out of American muscle. It's got the looks, but once you pop the hood, it's a different story. If you're looking for a classic car that delivers the kind of performance and power that'll make you feel alive, I can't recommend this engine. It's just not worth the investment, especially when you can find real power in other classic rides. The raw, unapologetic character of a true muscle car is absent here, leaving only a hollow echo of what it could have been. Would I buy this car? Not a chance, and I hope you're feeling the same way. The heart of any classic car lies in its mechanical components, and for the 1978 Cadillac Seville, we need to talk about the transmission and rear axle, which are the unsung heroes, if you can call them that, of this ride. First off, let's get one thing straight. The Turbo Hydromatic 400 is an absolute legend. We're talking about the best automatic transmission ever built, hands down. This 3-speed marvel is like the old soldier of the automotive world. It just keeps on going, shifting smoothly while other transmissions falter and fail. You think the Ford C6 can compete? Please. That unit is a flimsy excuse for a transmission compared to the robust THM 400. If Cadillac had paired this beauty with a more powerful engine, we might be singing a different tune about performance. But here we are, staring at the sad reality of a mere 180 horsepower from the Oldsmobile V8. That's right. With a compression ratio of 7.6 to 1, this engine is practically gasping for air, and it shows in those sluggish 0 to 60 times of approximately 11.5 seconds. I mean, come on. My grandma's old Buick could outrun this thing on a good day. Pair that with a rear axle ratio of 2.56 to 1, and you've got a setup that's less powerhouse and more power nap. It's almost as if Cadillac was saying, let's put a luxury car on the road that can't even keep up with a grocery run. Now, let's dive into the rear axle. With no significant options for differential gearing, it feels like Cadillac couldn't be bothered to put any thought into making this car perform at all. You'd think a luxury brand would give you something to sink your teeth into. Instead, you get a yawner that barely feels engaged when you hit the gas. It's almost a betrayal to the Cadillac name to have such a lackluster rear end behind the wheel. And while we're critiquing, let's not overlook the craftsmanship, or lack thereof. The mechanical weak points are glaring, especially those notorious oil leaks and the sensitive electronic fuel injection system. If you're not ready to deal with power windows that refuse to cooperate or an engine that's more temperamental than a toddler, you might want to rethink your decision. So what's the takeaway here? Despite the legendary status of the Turbo Hydromatic 400, this car's overall mechanical setup leaves much to be desired. If you're in the market for a classic ride, make sure you're not blinded by that badge. The mechanics are where the real story lies, and sadly, it's not a glowing one for the Cadillac Seville. All right, folks, now we're stepping into the realm of suspension, brakes, and handling feel on the 1978 Cadillac Seville. Buckle up, because this is where things start to get a bit rough. First off, if you're expecting a smooth ride that glides like a cloud, you might want to reconsider. The Seville isn't exactly known for its handling prowess. Back in the glory days, cars like the Cadillac Eldorado had a reputation for cornering with grace, but in this malaise era, we're looking at a ride that feels more like a lumbering whale than a nimble gazelle. The suspension setup is a classic McPherson strut design up front, which isn't bad in itself, but paired with that rear leaf spring arrangement, it's a recipe for a floaty, disconnected driving experience. You might think you're driving a luxury car, but the reality is you're teetering on the edge of boat-like handling. What do you think? Does that sound appealing to you? For me, it's a hard pass. Now let's talk brakes. The Seville employs power-assisted disc brakes up front and drum brakes at the rear. That's right, drum brakes. What a throwback. In a world where cars are becoming increasingly sophisticated, it feels downright embarrassing to see that kind of setup. And while the braking system gets the job done, it's not exactly confidence-inspiring, especially considering the weight of this car. The last thing you want is to be left praying for your life as you stomp on the brake pedal, hoping it doesn't turn into a game of will it stop? Handling is where this car really starts to show its age. The steering is vague and lacks feedback, making you feel disconnected from the road. It's like driving a sofa on wheels, and not in a good way. Mid-60s to early 70s, classics used to handle much, much better. You could actually feel the road and enjoy the drive. With the Cadillac Seville, you're left with a sense of isolation, and not the luxurious kind. So, what's the takeaway here? If you're considering the Seville for its handling and braking performance, you might want to think twice. This car is more about cruising in style than carving up corners. And for me, a car that can't inspire confidence in its handling is a deal breaker. If you're looking for a car with a sporty edge or engaging driving dynamics, keep searching. You deserve better than this lumbering beast that barely delivers on the promise of luxury. So, what's the final verdict on the 1978 Cadillac Seville? Let's break it down. First, we have to talk about reliability, or rather the startling lack thereof. This car is notorious for its rust problems. Seriously, check under the rear quarters, the trunk floor, and the lower door panels if you ever see one. You might as well bring a metal detector because you'll be searching for solid metal rather than just paint. And if you think the exterior is problematic, wait until you dive into the electrical mess that is this vehicle. Power windows that work when they want to, and an electronic fuel injection system that's more temperamental than a cat on a hot tin roof? Count me out. Now let's not forget the performance, or the lack of it. This car takes a staggering 11.5 seconds to reach 60 miles per hour. That's about the same time it takes a sloth to wake up. And the power? A pathetic 180 horsepower from a 5.7-liter V8. Seriously, when you think Cadillac, you should be thinking about luxury and power, not a glorified shopping cart. But here's the kicker. Despite all its flaws, if you find one in good condition for a good price, buy it. Why? Because this car has a brutal charm that's hard to resist. It's a piece of history from the malaise era, a time when cars were losing their edge but still had some character left. It's heavy, it's luxurious in a dated way, and it's unapologetically American. Collectors are starting to recognize this, and you might just snag a decent deal before the market gets out of control. So, would I spend my money on this? Honestly, I wouldn't unless it was a pristine example with original parts. Remember, it's only original once. If you can find a well-preserved Seville, it could be a conversation starter or a unique addition to your garage. Just be prepared to invest in some serious maintenance. Enjoy the ride, but know what you're getting into. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give it a like. Leave your comments and impressions. Your opinion is very important to me. Until next time.